Little video for you, talking about a couple new things to me. I'll be trying a couple new things tonight. This is a small sample of Taylor of Old Bond Street Rose shaving cream, and this is the first time I'll be using a Bluebird blade in my Baili razor. On Amazon, it didn't have much of a designation. It just said Baili long handle chrome, I think. So I don't know what else to call it. You can also call it the Viking Godfather. I actually had both of them in my hand at once and looked at them, and they're exactly identical. The Godfather has a little painted ring around it, but otherwise it is identical to this. I looked up on Amazon and I actually posed a question, and the seller, who was Baili something, Baili Shaving or Baili Razors, said that they made the razors and sold them to Viking Blade. And so the Viking Blade were doing the markups and all that stuff. And this razor is what, $10, $15, $13 on Amazon, where the Viking one's about 40 or something. So I'll take this one. And that's what we'll be looking at tonight. This is a 3-piece razor. It's currently empty right now. Now here's one very interesting thing about this razor. You can see at each of the 4 corners, it's got a square piece, and that allows the razor blade to be placed exactly in the proper alignment. So, as you can see, you kind of can't go wrong with putting the razor blade in on this one. Used this razor maybe half a dozen times. I like it pretty well. All right, so we just fastened the bottom plate. I don't know all the technical terms for these parts, but I'll take the handle and screw it on. I bought this because I really like the look of it. Don't over tighten it. I really like the look. It's very smooth, you know. Just kind of a neat idea, and I got suckered into the whole Vikings blade shtick they do, and so I was glad to get this one. But I do think it's an attractive razor. It's got a nice weight to it. It's heavy. It's got a nice long handle. It is slick, and so if you shower and shave at the same time, then maybe this isn't the one to use for that. However, I've used this with soapy hands, and it is surprising how well you can hold on to it. It's not super secure, but as you can see, it's bulbous here, and it gets narrower right here. And so because you're holding it here, then at least that bulbousness will almost guarantees that it's not going to slide out of your hand that way. You know, you'll be able to hold on to it. And I don't know, these ridges they're not going in the right direction to keep it from spinning, but somehow I feel pretty secure when I'm using it every time. And so, at least for now, I don't know how the surface might age, but it feels good. And I think it might be a medium exposure razor. I'm not really sure. Let's give it a shot with this Bluebird, which has been used 4 times previously. This is the 5th use of the particular Bluebird blade. And I sent off for the Taylor sampler, and this is how they come. At least with my particular batch. Obviously they reserve the right to change the canisters however they need to, and you could definitely reuse that for like a weekend's worth of travel shaving cream or something like that. Or hey, if you're one of those people who likes to mix a little bit of glycerin soap with their shaving cream, then this type of container might be good to melt some glycerin soap and pour it in, because you don't need too much, as far as I understand. Don't need too much of that, and then mix it with your other shaving cream if you like. Is it an Uber lather? If that's what that's called. It smells like roses. It smells like an old woman. So I don't really know why. Does Taylor's have this because they sometimes market to women? But I think some guys are walking around wanting to smell like roses, or at least some of these fragrances. You know, they don't last you too long. So that means that they just want to smell like roses for half an hour or an hour. I don't get it myself. But I am open-minded enough to give it a shot, see what happens. Who knows? Maybe something's different. But it's just a typical rose kind of flavor. They hit it right on the money, at least from the jar. You know how things sometimes smell different. All right, so I have my dog bowl, Dollar Tree dog bowl here. My whipped dog razor is soaking. I think that will be enough of the cream. I will likely never use this cream again if what's going to happen is what I think is going to happen. So I've got my dog bowl. My whipped dog silver tip badger has been soaking in distilled water. My water is pretty hard, so I like to use distilled. Someday I'm going to switch and see which of my soaps and creams do well with my hard water. I'm just smearing the soap into the bottom, and I'm smearing the cream into the bottom. Now I'll kind of wipe my finger into the brush to kind of clean off that. Let's rinse it off. All right, nice soaked badger brush here. Let's a lot of water. I didn't sling off enough water out of this brush. Darn it. Well, if this doesn't set up pretty quickly into a nice lather, I will not hesitate to just dump it all out and use another fingerful of the cream, because I'm probably never going to use it again. See, is that too? Yeah, that's, I think that's too soft. Too much water. But hey, this is science. So how about we grind at it for a little while and just see what we get. See what happens when you don't shake enough water out of your shaving brush. These whipped dog resin handles, they're a little slippery. Kind of wish the shape was a little different maybe. I have a Samogue that has kind of an octagonal shape to part of the handle, and I think that could really be good for these whipped dog brushes. But I've loved these so far. I've broken them in, used them maybe a month or two, and really like them a lot. And was Larry the name of the guy? He was very helpful when I was asking him some questions and things like that. Currently with his website, if you go on there and you order something, he I guess he's as big of an operation to have a lot of the sophisticated payment gateway stuff. So you basically pay with PayPal, which is, no big deal. So like you fill out the order form, and then it basically mails it to him, and then he'll get back with you like, please PayPal me this amount, and then I'll be glad to get your order on there for you. All right, well, this is a huge amount of lather. Yeah, we'll go for it. We'll just use it. So anyway, as I'm kind of hoping that this equalizes a little bit more. You know, sometimes when you're mixing your lather, and I'm no lather expert, but I have observed this, and I'm kind of a smart guy, so I figured it out. When you first start mixing, it will look watery, generally, because the soap is still inside your brush, and it hasn't had a chance yet to mix with the water. So don't think that it's too watery at that point. Mix it up for a little while, and you'll see it equalize, and the soap and the water will join together, and you'll start getting the good stuff happening. Now, after you scrubbed at it for a little while, if it still looks a little too soupy, yeah, you had too much water in your brush or too much water in your bowl. I want to rinse off my hand. It's a little slippery. Wonder about taking maybe some sandpaper around this handle. Probably wouldn't look as nice. Might start attracting. It might become porous and not be all that sanitary anymore. Hadn't been a problem at this point. It's just because I have tons of this kind of wet lather. All right, I don't think it's going to get any different than that. So we have a little bit of a sheen, a few small bubbles, peaks. Oh, now that's interesting. It doesn't smell quite as much like roses now. Maybe my nose has gotten used to it. It's almost like an artificial smell. Well, almost like a plastic smell. Huh, how about that? All right, well, we'll just see how that develops as we go. I bet my nose has just gotten used to the rose fragrance, the main part of it. Something new may be coming out right now. All right, so we got tons of lather here. You saw how much was on the tip of my finger, so that's how much lather you can generate with tailors using about that much cream. All right. A little rinse on the face. You can stare at my bald spot for a second. A lot of guys do pre-shave stuff. I'm a little bit too practical for that, and if I don't get it as good of a shave, I'm fine with it. I've got a family, I've got kids to take care of and stuff like that, so I don't think I'll bring that into my routine at this point. Excuse me. All right. Now I will take the, if I've used a soap or a cream that needs to be a crope that I want to bloom, I will take that bloom water and put it on my face for a little bit. I also am a cold water shaver, so I don't have to bother with that. Trying to keep things at the right temperature. Now, really like these silver tip. I was using a pure badger brush for a long time, and graduated, decided to try the silver tip. Very glad I did. I don't know that it's given me a better shave, but it sure does feel good. The been very happy with the tailors that I've tried so far. My favorites are the German Street. It's one of my favorites, and I think Mr. Taylor. There's a couple of, oh, St. James. St. James is good. I like it. Mr. Taylor's like the St. James, but with a little less of the masculine smell. It's not unmasculine. It's just kind of more standard, the Mr. Taylor is. Whereas the St. James and the German Street have kind of a masculine cologne type sense to them. Was letting the cream be on my face, on my whiskers for a second there. So thought I'd talk to you about that. All right, let's wet up this razor and see what a Bluebird in this razor will do. That is interesting. You know, you're probably not hearing that crisp hair cutting audio feedback you get with some razors and some blades. I'm interested to see if that's because this one has lost its superior edge, because that's just the nature of this razor, because the way it holds it in there, I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't give as much feedback, because, you know, sound comes from vibration. And so if this razor is the blade is being held securely, really securely, like a vise, we're not going to get as much sound from it. Sometimes I like that audio feedback. Sometimes it makes me feel like my shave isn't as smooth. But yeah, no problem holding this thing. It does feel a little slippery, but I've noticed also I'm holding it with more fingers, whereas with a razor, even a small one that's got better grip, I might only hold it with, you know, this many, a thumb and two fingers, and that kind of lets you have more control. But this one, because of the slipperiness, I find that I'm holding it with almost my whole hand, and so it feels secure because of that. You know, take that for what it's worth. All right, well, that was quick and very smooth. Let's just rinse off and see how it feels. As far as slickness goes, my face did not feel super slick. I have oily skin, probably a little bit. I think the soap cream probably added a little bit of slickness to my skin, but that also could be because I probably mixed it a little wet. It's not too custardy. It's a little light, a little on the light side. So in retrospect, I might have redone the mixture to put less water in it, because as so many people have said, it's really hard to get water out. It's easier to add it in, but I forgot that the Taylor stuff I can just about shake all the water out of my soaked badger brush. Just shake it all out of there. You go. There's a little badge of honor. So that was a smooth, pretty clean shave. Let's see what pass number 2 feels like. And I'm not using, you know, some people use alum on their fingers to help them hold on to the razors. I'm not using that. Never actually, I think I've tried it once. It didn't, I must have been doing it wrong. But I can hold on to it pretty well with just like this. So that's how I'll stay. Cross grain pass. A little side note. I've got my first open comb razor coming in a few days. I avoided those at first because all the Amazon reviews mentioned how they were really good for people who had long beards or very old whiskers that they wanted to get rid of. Old meaning, 5 days of growth or something like that. And that wasn't me. And it was more, they would say they were more aggressive. And that wasn't me, because at the time I was just starting out with a lot of these nice blades and stuff. Now here, let's try something. Yeah, see, that's not all that slick in terms of bringing my razor across it. Again, a little bit. Actually, slicker over ones. Well, here's the thing. It's slick to my fingers, but the steel is, it kind of stopped again a little bit. Who knows why. So that is, that's the third pass. How does that feel? It feels good. It looks like that Bluebird number 5 did a good job. Usually my standard is, pretty much every blade gets your cheeks well, because that skin is just a little bit more firm. My problem area is this area of my neck. Yeah, there's plenty of guys right there that need to be cut. So you know what I'm going to do? I don't see any reason. I'm just going to ditch this cream because I want to try to make something better. And we will shake off all that water out of the brush, rinse out the bowl. Take a good amount. Oh yeah, see, now that rose fragrance is back when I just smell it right there on my finger. Interesting. Again, I'm gonna even squeeze this thing out with my hand. Get all that moisture out that I can, because as we know, that can be added back very easily. Whip up a pretty thick lather. What I'm interested in, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to see if the slickness is improved. So I'll even pour out. Okay, there we go. Yeah, see, now it's starting to drag on the bottom there a little bit. So I'm going to take a little bit of my distilled water here, small amount at a time. So about that open comb razor, I watched, I think it was the Mad Scientist of Wet Shaving, and he was the first one that I saw that made the assertion that actually the open comb might be good for starters, for new people to wet shaving. and it might be good for irritation-free shaves, as long as you learn to do it properly, because it's not pushing the shaving cream and the shaving soap. It's not pushing it away like the flat blade safety bar type razors are. There we go. We're getting some thickness there, so we're on the right track. Add a little bit more distilled water. So, figure, I decided, a few months ago I decided not to go down the open comb path, but after hearing that I thought, oh, hey, all right, I'll give that a shot. So I'm looking forward to trying that razor out. We've got some thick cream. So the reason I'm mixing this up is to is to see if I get more slickness on my face, and because I tell you what, I tried some Colonel Conk out the other day. It was the amber, and holy cow, that had tons of slickness. My face was so well lubricated that I actually had to, it took longer to rinse my face off than usual after my shave, because the face was just so hydrated, lubricated, and all that stuff. We're getting there. So, thank you for bearing with me in the name of science. You saw how my light lather, it kind of looked nice, but it was so light and airy that I kind of knew that it'll provide you a good shave. Let's put it that way. But in terms of if you're trying to get some thickness, if you're trying to get some custardy-like qualities to protect your skin, because it may look nice, but if it's too thin, it doesn't protect quite as much. Yeah, that's getting there. A sheen on it, thick. Really thick. You know what? I usually thin it out a little bit more than this even, but since this is my third pass, I might just use this super thick lather to do the pass with. See how that feels. Plenty of peaks. Stiff peaks in the cooking world. Yeah, look at that. All right, hey, we'll do that. Thanks for bearing with me there. All right, get my face a little wet. I like the thick lather. A lot of the guys on YouTube say you don't really need to put on a thick layer when you're on your second and third pass. But I kind of like it. Oh man, that feels so different. See, there you go. That's why I did it. I can tell you how different and creamy the lather feels this time, because it has a little bit less water in it. It just feels thick and more luxurious, and it is just there's just tons of it. All right, I've recently learned to make better lathers just simply by taking a little extra time and loading up that brush and letting the soap bloom so that it comes into the brush a little easier. Soak in your brush. If you have the Badger or the Boar, my understanding is it's better to soak the brush. And all right, here we go. but then starting out more dry than you might think, because you can always just keep adding the water later. I'm getting more audio feedback now than I did when the mix was thinner. Interesting. Cross grain here. The mad scientist of wet shaving. I just watched a video of his where he said, don't worry about drawing a map about the hairs on your face. You don't need to do that. A lot of people say that you do, and I've mentioned that on a couple of my videos. I don't guess I said draw one, but I said, map your face, as in try to figure out where things go, and I guess you should. But his point is, you do the first pass, and then do like a cross grain pass, and so you've eliminated a lot of hairs that way. And then what you have left, you can just feel with your fingers which way it's going, and then shave in the appropriate direction. Instead of having to memorize your whole face, just kind of do a carpet bomb approach with the first two passes, and then you can just feel the touch-ups that you need to do. Thought that's pretty wise, very practical. All right, I'm gonna rinse and just kind of feel. Well, how's the slickness here? I think the slickness is definitely improved over the thinner mix. So definitely, let's say if I ever get that thin mix again, I just pitch it and start over right away, because it's got a much better feel. The slickness is there. All right, now let's check out those neck hairs and see if we need to do a little focused touch up. Yeah. If only I had some more shaving cream. If I do this, actually, you know what? I'm going to do the whole kind of area in an upward motion. And for my neck, on this side of my neck, that is a cross grain pass. No irritation, almost absolutely no irritation from the blade at all. So I'm really curious. I wouldn't advise this. Trying to feel the blade exposure. Feel whether, I think it is kind of a mild, a medium exposure. So there we go. Let's check it out. Oh, pretty nice. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So apparently one of the features of this particular razor, if you've been suckered into buying a Viking Godfather, or maybe you wanted the expensive, apparently, box that it comes in. But anyway, if you've got this razor, I assume it's called Baili. I could be totally wrong about that as far as the pronunciation. But I think it's just holding the blade so tightly that it feels smooth even though it may be cutting very well. That's nice. Gives you a really smooth shave. Don't get it if you're, yeah, that feels good. Don't get it if you are a shower shaver. But yeah, all right, approve. Good shaver, good razor. Has a nice bold look to it, and a contemporary. If you've got some of the old classic ones, that's great. And you want to branch out and maybe have something contemporary, grab this guy. And the Rose shaving cream from Taylor of Old Bond Street. The good thing is I wasn't really cognizant of the Rose fragrance as I was shaving. Either my nose got used to it or it weakened. But I don't see any point in ever buying it. As far as I go, I don't want to smell like a rose. My little girl brings me a rose, lets me smell it. I'm happy to do that. I will appreciate it and enjoy the fragrance. But do I want to smell like that? No, thank you. But if for some reason you do, you can know that that fragrance from Taylor is doesn't seem to, it's not obnoxious. I was unaware of it for most of the shave. I did smell it, and there were some other notes that were coming through when I was smelling it in the bowl. Let's just see. Man, yeah, there is a fragrance there. It's almost like a rubber balloon smell, which is weird, like a latex kind of smell, or the powder they use in those, something like that. So it's not a strong fragrance for those of you who might be considering the Rose fragrance. Might be for you. So I don't know why so many people like these floral and soapy fragrances. Why the guys do, so many guys do. Apparently that's part of the shaving tradition. I think years ago, they didn't have musky, herby fragrances because people were already a little too musky and they were trying to mask it with whatever they could. So maybe florals were that was just what was the only one that they had available. And so that may be part of it. And now you've got a shaving tradition that is rooted in that, and so it doesn't really want to change too much. Like, I think I'm discovering that traditional barbershop fragrance that is often mentioned in descriptions. I think I'm discovering I don't like that at all. Soapy and florally seems to be what that fragrance is. I love the idea of smelling like a traditional barbershop. That's pretty neat. I like connecting with that history. But when it comes to the actual smell, that's just not my preference. But fortunately, we've got tons of vendors out there who are making good contemporary manly fragrances. I like the herby, woodsy, musky type fragrances. So sandalwood. I love sandalwood, like Perazzo Red is a great sandalwood fragrance that I enjoy. And Lathering Wood has a great fragrance for sandalwood. So I will already did my rinse pretty much. So I usually don't do an astringent like the alum or the witch hazel for right now, at least. Just a little bit of Nivea. It's a inexpensive and great product, as it turns out. But I don't think, okay, I do have a little bit of irritation right here. That's where I had to keep attacking those neck hairs, but virtually no irritation from this razor and this blade. I have to make a note of that and continue to monitor the blades I put in this razor. See if that keeps going. But it's one of those where you don't even think you're getting a shave because it's so smooth. And that's what it was like. But then, nope, it was cutting well. Everything looks good, feels good. No razor burn or anything like that. No ill, my face bears no ill will toward that razor end blade. All right, well, there you go. I tried out the Rose. It wasn't obnoxious during the shave, so at least there's that. And we did the Baili / Viking Godfather demonstration for you. All right. Thanks. Take care. Hope you learned something. Hope it helped you.